Get rolling. All right. So you're good. Can I go?
Yeah,
now we can.
I just wanted to talk before we introduce our special guest today. Once again, thanks for joining us for another Modern Agent Blueprint. I'm going to put in the chat our referral program, our agent referral program. We're now going to be in 40 states, and they're going to be all live transfers. So if you haven't signed up to be a part of it yet, there's the link. So please, save that link and sign up for that. And like I said, we're going to be doing, I think they were talking about being up to like 40 live transfers a week. So it's a really good opportunity to be a part of our referral network. So make sure you guys sign up. And without further ado, I'm going to let Nicole introduce today's amazing special guest.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys. Thanks, Lee. Yeah, make sure to sign up for the referral program. It's going to be an awesome one. We're working with National Mortgage Home Loans to get people some leads. So, and we all need leads in this market. So, but anyway, I wanted to welcome our special guest today, Lesley. So the other day, and to be honest, I don't even know how, I don't remember how we met. Social media, I'm assuming, or maybe another networking group. I'm not really sure, but I've been following you. And I saw you post the other day that you're writing a book. And I was like, tell me about this book. And she was like, oh, it's about goal setting and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want you on Modern Agent Blueprint. So this is the first time she's done this talk. She's clearly a pro. She's writing a book about it. So I wanted to get her on here to talk about goal setting. I mean, I think that's something that I struggle with. I think a lot of realtors struggle with, and people in general just struggle with. So I'm really excited to hear how your approach to goal setting and how to attain those goals, because I think we all need that. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Lesley, if you want to just kind of talk about who you are and, give us the rundown.
So I'm Lesley Perreault, and I'm an EXP agent in Wichita, Kansas. I've been with them 7 years. I was the first agent in Kansas. I've been selling real estate a little over 20 years at this point. 6-time icon with EXP. It's been an awesome ride. No complaints on that front from me. One of the things that was very eye-opening when we started attracting agents to EXP was there was a huge difference in people. And I had never really paid any attention to how other people ran their business and what they were doing sales-wise or anything else. I really just kind of buried my head in the sand and ran my own business and did my own thing. Patty Savage, that's on this, her and I had this conversation last week. I mean, she's amazing, and people just think that we just show up that way, and it's kind of funny, but it really isn't. It's planned. So I started working on this started building a small team about a year ago. And so I started working on trying to come up with ideas for them to be able to tap into some of the things that they want to achieve, and trying to create, basically, as you guys call it, a blueprint to give them a step-by-step guide on how to achieve their goals and how to accomplish what they want in their personal life and through real estate and through work. So that's kind of what kicked it off. I have some slides to keep me on track because I tend to be a storyteller and I'll get way squirreled. And so I want to make sure that I respect everybody's time on here. So I'm going to try to share my screen, and I am on my Mac, and it is fairly new to me. So we'll see how well this works with Canva. I might need some tips, but the video quality on my Mac is way better than on my other computer. So this was what I sat down and started brainstorming. I'm like, what makes me so much different? Because I don't see myself as any different than anybody else. I don't see that I'm that special, but I do wind up with different results than most. So that was kind of where I brainstormed this. And the joke around my house is I hate the word lucky. People think that this is how I must wake up every morning in my tiara, and I just live a totally different lifestyle than everybody else. And that's really not the truth. The truth of the matter is that I'm just the one behind the scenes getting the roadmap printed out and sticking to it and doing all of the things that I tell everybody that you have to do, all the unsexy things to get the sexy results. So this is a few of the examples. The first picture is actually the one that prompted this to come about. I posted it on my Facebook that I was working on the Audible. I went in and recorded it that day. That's going to be out on Amazon. But I think probably really the way that we initially connected was I just started doing a lot of reels. And I started doing those in April. And my goal was to have 10,000 followers within the first year. And I'm just shy of 48,000 by a few people. It's like wearing me out. I keep watching it. So
Wow.
1 year you go from 1,700 followers to almost 48,000 followers. And it's just based off of consistency. I also joke that I'm the one that's usually working while everybody else is goofing off. This was a photo shoot here that we had for clients, and that's my son, and that's me on the phone trying to work while everybody else is having a good time. And then this is something that we worked on for my team the other day about goal setting and things that we want to accomplish second quarter. And it's just a picture of it being on my mirror in my bathroom, and we'll get to some of that. But these were some of the things that really hit me as interesting when I started looking into this. And I think I heard the top one, Tom Ferry was talking about it. So goal setting has 189 million searches on YouTube. And so obviously it's an evergreen topic. So I thought this is something that I could write. It could be useful for a long time because people have been setting goals since the beginning of time. But the number 2 one really shocked me, that only 10% of people write down their goals. And it's not just a matter of writing them down and making a to-do list. I mean, that's some of it, but there's more to it than that. And so the first step, and everybody has probably heard this, like finding your why. And I struggled with this because I live a very comfortable lifestyle, and comfort is typically what hinders us from being great. And so it's like, I had a conversation with my coach about this, and I said, you know, I really make a pretty decent income. I have a really nice house. My family's awesome. Like, I travel pretty much and do what I want to do. So what's my why? And that became my team. And it was more or less helping them figure out what they need to do to get the things that they want to accomplish. And so that was kind of the premise of this. And I think the biggest factor is people concentrate and they set a goal on a dollar figure, and it's not about the dollar figure. They need to concentrate on things that they need to change in their lifestyle to create a happier life and more energy and more, you know, positive attitude, stronger mentality, because those are the things that actually create the money. So if they're focusing on making those lifestyle changes, so these are some examples of it, and getting more rest. Something that I've been working on, because this last year of building a team and doing all the video content and the stuff that I've been transitioning into, it's been mentally exhausting. It's just a totally different paradigm than the day-to-day real estate. That was also mentally exhausting in a totally different way. But I've been trying to focus on getting 7 to 8 hours, like they've said forever that we need to do. Getting more physical activity. One of the things that's on my list right now is having 30 minutes at least outside every day. Eating healthier. We've started ordering food to be dropped off at our house that we cook, and then it's portioned and it's organic and whole foods and things like that. So we've each lost about 20 pounds just doing that in the last 6 months. Improving your mind, reading books, watching videos, things like that, and eliminating bad habits. All of this, the funny part to me about all of this, we've all heard every bit of this. And I put this together, this analogy, because really the goals are the individual flowers in a bouquet. It's not that you write down, I want to get healthy, and that's enough when you're setting a goal. It has to be very specific, and these things have to be permanent. So when David is like, hey, we need to start working out and losing some weight, getting healthier, he kept telling everybody, hey, we're on a diet. It pissed me off. I was like, first of all, I don't want anybody to think I'm on a diet. It's like, we're not on a diet. We're either going to commit to doing this or we're not. And so it was more of making things permanent. And I don't like to be limited. So that was how I felt about the term diet. And so this was where I really started breaking things down. Probably many of you guys have heard this acronym of SMART goals. I think it's been around since the 60s, but this is really where I think that it starts, is setting goals that you can track. Because we just did this the other day at the office, like I said earlier, for our first quarter or for second quarter goals. And we had a list of different categories that people could prioritize, whether it was family or their love life or work or whatever it was, and they could put those into the priority that they wanted them. But things that change in my goal setting versus what I was looking at on theirs is, I think Kelly, one of my friends and agents in our group, she had put something about, being a better friend. Well, then you have to dive into going into this specific and measurable. You're like, what does it mean to be a better friend? And so what I wrote down, I've been so busy with work and other things that I was like, I need to make sure that I'm having 3 dinners with friends over the next 90 days. So it's like, I was specific about dinner. I was measuring it. I had an amount of times that I wanted to go out and have dinner. And it seems terrible that I have to actually go, okay, I want to meet my friend. I'm going to write down, we are going to dinner. But I went to dinner Friday night with some people that I haven't seen in probably 3 or 4 months. And so it was awesome to make that a priority and to then be able to cross it off on my list of things to do. So achievable, I think what that really means is, like, I would love to drive a Rolls Royce. That is one of the goals on my vision board, which we will discuss in a little bit, but I know it's not this year. So it's not something that I'm hyper focused on achieving at this point, because there's other steps that are going to happen in order for that to happen. Relevant, like some people, I've been watching one of my past clients train for a marathon. Obviously, if you're pregnant or if you have health issues right now, that's probably not relevant to setting the goals for now, and then setting a time that you are going to achieve it by. I think the first 2 and the last one are probably the biggest ones that I have to focus on for me. So the way that I look at short-term versus long-term goals is something that I can do in the next 6 months is short-term. Something that needs a lot more steps to it is going to be longer term. This is really what started helping me and breaking things down into a lot smaller chunks. So I'm calling them milestones. It's basically a measurement, and I have to figure out, this is what I want to achieve. And then I have to break it down on how I'm going to achieve it. So better friend, 3 dinners. Or another example, like I said, just started the team. Our average sales price, if you see it there in the middle, $207,000. So housing is very inexpensive in Wichita. So my goal was for our team, we had a team of 6, to sell $2 million a month. My bigger goal is for the team to sell 300 houses a year. And I want to achieve that because nobody else is doing that in our Wichita market. But I have to break it down into a smaller goal. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, $2 million. So then I started tracking, okay, each one of my agents averages $207,000 a month. And we're still on this cycle, like where we go from, I call it 0 to hero. They have, 5 deals under contract, then they don't have anything for the next month, maybe 2 months, then they've got 4 deals under contract. And it's just this constant roller coaster ride for a lot of the agents on what they're getting paid. So when I sat and looked at it, I was like, okay, breaking down everything that the team brings in, and this isn't including my sales, each agent represents $207,000 in sales for my team. So when I sit and then break it down even further, I need 10 agents. So instead of just saying, I want $2 million a month, you have to make the game plan of how many agents it's going to take. Yes, the agents are getting better. Yes, they need to be working on increasing what they represent each month. But for me, for my goal is I need 10 agents. So if I originally had 6, then I need 4 more agents in order to achieve that short-term goal that I had. So I'm 1 agent shy away from that. So the next thing that I think is important is basically to trick your own dummy inside your head. It's like you have to create a reward system once you have those goals. So one of the things that is really silly to me is I want this watch. And I've had it on my phone, a picture of it for like the last 2 or 3 years. I don't even wear a watch. I don't know why I like this watch, but it's been there and I constantly go back and look at it. And so this was the thing that I decided, if I added 4 more agents to my team, this is what I'm going to purchase for myself. And the reason that I thought this would be the best thing for me to purchase is it's going to constantly be on my wrist to remind myself that I achieved the goal. It's visual. It's the same thing. Like if I'm going and I'm going to buy closing gifts for my client, I don't buy wine. I don't buy champagne. I don't buy crumble cookies or whatever, because as soon as they consume them, you're out of the picture again. So I try to buy things, whether it's, you know, having their family photos done for events or things like that, something that they have that they can constantly look at and think of me. So this is exactly what I'm doing with my goals. So I'm adding this. I got one more person. This watch is mine. So the big thing is to start writing it down. And this is what I'm trying to impart. It's like you can't close a house deal if the offer isn't written. So the problem is if only 10% of people are even writing a goal down, there's no way they're going to achieve them if they can't visualize it and see it, and they've made that contract with their self. So you have to write down the goal, then you have to break down the goal into smaller milestones. So if you want to lose 50 pounds, maybe the first goal is to lose 10, because you have to lose 10 in order to get to 50. And then you reward yourself, and you have to set up the rewards where they're relevant. You can't lose 10 pounds and reward yourself with an ice cream cone. You have to reward yourself with a new pair of sneakers, or, you know, something that makes you feel good when you put it on, or something else like what I'm saying with a watch. But they also have to be relative. Like you can't go and buy yourself a new car because you lost 10 pounds. I mean, otherwise it doesn't really seem like it's relative to what you're trying to accomplish. So this is another thing that I think people really get hung up on. It's like all of a sudden something doesn't work and they failed. And it really isn't a fail. It's just time for it to adjust and go back and track it some more and keep looking at it. And it's not like, to me, you have to look at it weekly, monthly, quarterly, because it's just like weight. A lot of this stuff I think about is weight. It's like I can't get on the scale every day and expect to see a long progress. It's like I was on the scale this morning and I'm up 1.5 pounds. And I know it's because of I ate something salty last night for dinner. It has nothing to do with that I'm not on track to accomplish a bigger goal. It's just, it takes longer to visually see it. So one of the things that I likened this to is David and I had set out to farm a neighborhood, and we actually gave it a year that we were sending out $2,000 worth of marketing pieces every month to one neighborhood. I didn't get a single phone call of it. But if I would have just sent out one card 1 month and expected a result, that wasn't going to happen. So you have to commit to giving it some time to work. Then when we saw that it wasn't working, it's like, okay, we're going to take that $2,000 and budget it in somewhere else because now it's not working. So the last thing that I think is super, super important, and I've talked about this a couple of different times, hit on it, is you have to visualize it. It has to be in front of you. And we've had several different instances of this in my house. David and I were actually talking about this at dinner last night when I was working on these slides. I said, when you and I moved in together, and this is kind of a crazy story, but David and I moved in together probably like a week after we started dating. I mean, it was just crazy. We knew each other before that, and we move in, and I initially grab like this huge vision board, you know, like a poster board, and we're printing stuff off, and I'm asking him, like, what are some of your goals? What are some things that you want to accomplish? And so we were in a rental at the time. Both of us were going through divorces, and it was like, okay, we want to buy a house. We want a cleaning lady. We want to do this, 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 and this. And so we put all of those on a vision board. And the joke was last night, David probably thought I was absolutely insane, telling him that we're going to cut these little pieces out and we're going to glue them out on this board. And we're sitting in the middle of our rental living room. And he probably did it just to appease me because we were so fresh in our relationship. But the bottom line of it has been amazing to go back to some of those initial vision boards. We create one every year now, and to look at it. And here it was, first year, we crossed out the house. Then we cross off the cleaning lady, then we're crossing off, we wanted to build a garage at that house. So there was all of these different things. David wanted to take his dad to see a Minnesota Vikings game. He's originally from Minnesota and his dad still lives there. So it was all of the different things that we wanted to do. And that thing is, it's posted right in front of our toilet in our master bathroom. So I'm in there several times a day. I'm looking at it. I'm envisioning, and some of it makes me mad because I haven't done it yet. And so we use the term pissed off for greatness. So it's like, I have to sit there and I have to be looking at it and thinking, what else do I need to do in order to achieve these things? A lot of times the goals that I'm setting right now are, I have to help other people achieve their goals in order to get mine. But the other thing, like I showed you in one of the first slides, is I have a list. It's on my mirror. And it's like, here's everything that I want to accomplish in the next quarter. And here's everything that I want to accomplish for 2023. And I'm crossing them off as I go. And there's something very rewarding and mental. It's kind of like a to-do list. If you've ever sat and made a to-do list and crossed off everything you have to do, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I write down stuff that wasn't originally on the to-do list. And I'm like, oh, I also did this. And I write it down just specifically to cross it off so that it looks like I accomplished more. But there's something really mentally rewarding about that big black X through whatever it is that we've accomplished. So I always have to have it front of mind. I always have to have it easy where I can cross it off. I have a marker sitting in with all my makeup brushes on my countertop in my bathroom, and I crossed another one off this morning. So it's just constantly something that I'm focused on. And I think that basically, in a nutshell, you have to overall break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, track it, and keep it in front of you so you're constantly thinking about it. Because even when I went into this topic of vision boards in the book, it was something more of, they have digital platforms for it. And I think that's fine if you're going to take it and actually commit to printing it out. But most people don't. If they don't even write down their goals, they're not committing to printing it out and then posting it. So it's just a matter of keeping everything in front of you so that it's very visual all the time in order to be able to achieve the goals that you want to have. So very quick talk. I didn't know how long this was going to go and how many stories I would ramble through. And like I said, it's the first time I've went through it. The book took me about 2.5 hours to sit and do an Audible. And obviously you didn't want me to read it to you and take that long. But I think the thing is with a lot of things in life is it's really simple and we just try to overcomplicate it. It just needs to be small bite-sized pieces, or drinking from a garden hose instead of a fire hose, in order for us to trick ourselves that we're accomplishing things and building on those accomplishments to go into bigger accomplishments that you guys want to achieve. So that's it in a nutshell.
So what would you say to somebody who's scared to set goals, who's worried about not being able to achieve those goals? What would you say to somebody like that?
There's actually a chapter in the book about that, and it's almost like self-sabotage instead of just getting to work and doing it. And it's something that my mom and I have very different personalities, and my mom will sit and come up with 100 ways that something won't work. And I'm like, if you would just sit here and focus on 10 ways to make it work, it would already work. And I said, by the time that you wrote your list down, I've already implemented it and I'm already doing the things to achieve it. So I think 2 things I would tell them. 1, done is better than perfect. You don't have to sit and work on having every single thing be 100% perfect. It's a matter of tracking it and being like, okay, this didn't work. We're going to go a different route and we're going to try this. And it's just committing to that end goal though, and then trying different things to get there. But I also think the other thing is you have to start somewhere. I mean, if you want something different, then you have to start toward that final goal of what it is that you're wanting. My dad had a saying that he always said, it says, can't never did anything. So if you think you can't, you're right. And if you think you can, you're right. And so you have to focus on enough, maybe it's self-improvement, that you think that you can accomplish it.
Yeah, I think it's true. I mean, it's, so I'll tell you my struggle in the beginning, and I still struggle a little bit, is like being open and honest about the goals that I have, because I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. So in my eyes, sometimes I will say, my goal is to do this. I mean, I've gotten better as I've worked on like bettering myself and worked on my mindset and all that stuff. It's changed a lot. Like I'm way more open now with where I'm at, where I want to be. I think it was hard in the beginning, especially like when I first got into real estate, and even before I was in real estate, I struggled with making goals because I was always afraid of what would happen if I let myself down or let somebody else down, or how they would think, what they would think of me if I didn't, hit those goals. And I mean, last year I set a really lofty goal for how many deals I was going to do, and I didn't hit that goal, and I was totally fine with it. I still went over what I did last year or the year before, but it was still like, it didn't crush me as much as I think I thought it would. But it's like, I realized with setting that goal that I don't really need to do that much. I don't really want to do that much, but because I went from, so my goal was to sell 50 houses and I had sold 30 the year before. And I was like, that's 20 more houses. That's a lot, and then I started realizing I tweaked it, right? Like I took that goal and I was like, I don't need to sell 50 houses. I'm going to make this a monetary goal. I want to up my price point and hit this other goal. So I changed things around. And I think that that's one thing with goal setting, is that just because your goal is this today, doesn't mean it needs to be that in 6 months or a year. You can modify and change it and tweak it to where it's going to work better for you, in the long run. Instead of beating yourself up that I didn't hit that goal, I changed the perspective on it. Like, well, I didn't really need to do that much. I'm still happy with where I'm at. So I think that that's one thing that people get stuck on. They're like, I have this goal and it's just this one goal, and they don't want to bend or flex, and then they get stuck. So I think that that's a hard thing.
I think sometimes too, you don't know what it's going to take to achieve that goal, because I remember beginning of 2018, I was like, I want to sell 100 houses this year. And at that point, I was a solo agent. And I'm like, this is what my goal is. And I mean, I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I had taken a couple years out of real estate. I was super burnout. I say that I was a people person, but people ruined it for me. And I just didn't want to sell real estate for a while. And so I took the 2 years off, and then I'm like, okay, I've got to figure out how to ramp my business back up. And this was 2016. So in 2018, I set the goal I was going to sell 100 houses. And that year I sold 80. And, you look at that, and did I hit my goal? No, but I still had a hellacious year. I mean, it was an awesome year of selling real estate. But then exactly like you, I was like, okay, I don't want to do that again. I mean, it's like maybe 100 houses isn't what I need to do. When my average sales price that year was like $118,000, I needed to figure out how to make the same amount of money and sell half the houses. Like, this isn't working. And so that's when we started implementing different plans. It's like, okay, so how are we going to go from selling to doubling our sales prices? And so then it was a matter of farming. It was a matter of buying leads and higher price points on Zillow. And we really sat down and dove in, David and I, and wrote down, like, this is what our goal is. How do we plan on accomplishing that? And same thing kind of goes, I mean, at the beginning of COVID, I said, you know what? Everybody else is going to pause. And while they pause, I need to lay on the gas. And you know what? I'm going to hire a coach. I said, I've taken myself to the same level now, before and after my little break. And I don't need to go to hamburger college. I just need to know what the Big Mac sauce is. So I just needed somebody else to be like, this is what you need to be doing in your business in order to create this. What I didn't know, it was going to be building a team. I had no intention of building a team. I didn't want a team. I didn't want to play adult daycare. I since look at it entirely different because that was how I looked at it. I had never been on a team. I'm not a very good team player, or so I thought. And yeah, I'm like, I have no desire to do it. And Glenn just kept kind of pestering me that that's what I needed to be focusing on. And we've set goals up for that. And then now here it is. It's totally, my business is totally transitioning. I mean, and he calls me, I tell him that he needs a different term for it, but he says, one of the things that I am the best about is executing. So he calls me as executioner. And I said, we need to do, how about implementer or something and not executioner? But it is something that once I have that goal and I have broke it down into all of these other steps, it's done. I'm really good at just making sure it's done, crossing it off. Like I said earlier, doesn't have to be perfect, but it's done. I sent out the messages, I made the videos. I'll get comments about how poor my language, not language, but like, I've had a couple of comments lately that they think I need to work on, oh heck, what is the term of it? Basically, I need to be a better speaker and I need to, oh, I can't even think of it. I said something wrong and then I've got several messages since. So it is what it is. I'm getting paid off their comments. So thank you for your comments.
I love it.
Linguistic skills, says Bill.
Yeah, it was something that I said and it was wrong. I mean, it was like my mom immediately text messaged me and she's like, that wasn't said right. You said that all wrong, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you watched it.
Right? Yeah. I had that same conversation with my dad. I was doing like an open house and I was touring and I kept saying, and it's got this and it's got that and it's got this. And he's like, stop saying it's got. And I'm like, you know what? You watched the video and you showed your friends. So I don't care.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny. That's one of the things over the last year, even of making videos is realizing where the mental toughness comes in, because people say that the dumbest, meanest things that I've ever heard. And I'm like, you would never say that to somebody's face, but you seem like a real tough person behind a keyboard spouting something off. And I've tried to make jokes about it. I've tried to offer hugs. You know, I'm like, whatever. And I just have to get past it, because what's really funny about this, and it's the same for goals and letting people down, is it's like, this is what I'm telling my team that they need to be doing. This is what I've committed to do. So I have to lead by example, and I have to make sure that I'm doing it. And I have to focus on the positives, the extra income stream that's coming in from Reels, from Facebook at this point. I have to focus on my team is learning things. I'm recruiting people from it. I'm getting probably 2 leads a week from referral sources. I mean, all of the other stuff is working. So I'm not going to let this one person put a stick in my bike spokes. I'm just keeping pedaling, and I'm over it. But in the beginning, I was like, this guy said this lady said this. They don't like my earrings. They don't like my necklace. I mean, it was stupid stuff that they were even talking about. And I'm like, why are we talking about that instead of the message? The message was awesome. Focus on the message.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all can kind of get in our heads about things as, you know, whether it's goal setting, it's social media, it's whatever. I mean, it's, you know, people say things, and like my boyfriend and I joke, because when I was probably like a year and a half into real estate, and I've done everything pretty much on social media. I just recently started buying leads for our team. Before that, really wasn't doing anything, just social media. And I had a guy message, he was actually like a mutual friend of mine and my boyfriend's. And he was like, you know, if you stayed off of social media, you'd probably sell more houses. And I responded and I was like, oh, so you know, I'm a realtor then, right? And he was like, well, obviously. And I was like, good, it's working then. So, you know, it's like taking that, you know, that negative comment, and like, we still joke about it. Like he'll say to me, like my boyfriend will say to me, like, you know, if you got off social media, I'm like, okay.
Right.
But I mean, there's always going to be somebody who has something negative to say, but I think framing your mind, like you said, you kind of just had to let it go. I mean, you're going to have that regardless. You're going to have naysayers, you're going to have this or that, but you just have, in my mind, Like if I'm writing out my goals and I'm writing out what I'm hoping to do or want to do in the next quarter, year, whatever, that, you know, I'm not letting that little inner voice that says, oh, that person said that, I'm not going to do that now, or I'm going to change because I heard this person say that. I think it's an important thing to just kind of get out of your head, you know, about all of that negativity and all of that. Before I know we got still about 20 minutes or so, but I wanted to ask, does anybody else have any other questions about goal setting, or, you know, how do you have any tips for people to set goals? Because here's one thing I was going to say is a lot of people are going to say it's April 25th. Maybe I'll start setting goals for May 1st. So, or maybe I'll wait till June mid-year. What would you say to somebody like that?
It's like that diet thing. I mean, it's like, oh, we'll start on Monday. Let's eat like crap all weekend. And then we start on Monday. Then it just puts 5 more pounds that you have to lose. So I think the sooner the better. That's actually part of the book. It's talking about how people say something at the first time of the year, you know, for a New Year's resolution. And most people don't accomplish any of their New Year's resolutions because Tom Ferry has a saying that either you're committed or you're interested. And, you know, it's nothing. I could think back of when I very first got my real estate license and we were so broke. I was so sick being pregnant that I couldn't hardly work. And it was just something that I felt like now hindsight, I'm so super thankful that I really had to, I mean, it was a slingshot. Like I was pulled so far back at that point that when it was released, it was just like, I didn't care. I didn't care about making all the expired calls and people hanging up on me and whatever, because you've heard the saying that you have to choose your hard. And it was just like, it was harder to be broke than it was for me to work the phones and to go and try to talk to for sale by owners at their house and all of the other things that I did to build my business initially. I will say, and I don't know if it's just because now I have a certain level of success with real estate, the videos were probably the hardest thing that I've done. And it was like, you don't want to seem, I didn't want other people to look at it and be like, that's not right. She doesn't know what she's talking about or whatever. You get that imposter syndrome or what. Yeah. And I was so nervous to make them. And what are people going to say about my looks? And what are people going to do about this? And then ultimately it doesn't matter. And that was kind of the thing with starting out. It was like, I didn't care. I just felt like every no I got, I was one step closer to a yes. So I would say, start now on whatever it is that you want to accomplish, work it backwards. And if it creates a whole bunch of no's, then you're one step closer to getting whatever it is that you were trying to achieve.
I love that, Lesley, because I've been following your journey for, you know, a couple of years. And even though we've never really spoken until today, you know, I would constantly see your videos, and I would always say like, wow, she's consistent. There's another one. There's another one. And I remember looking like a year ago at how many followers you had, and then recently looking again, and it's so true about the consistency week in and week out, and everyone's seeing it, like just from these modern agent blueprints and the things that Nicole and I do, and my wife Julie and I do. Like we were at the dog store getting dog food, and someone came up to us and were like, oh my gosh, I see all of your videos and I see all the stuff that you do. People are noticing. They may not comment on it, but people are noticing it, and it really makes a difference. And kudos to you that, you know, just keep, I mean, it's just amazing how you just started, and I mean, and everything like multiplies. Like the first few videos, you probably had 3 viewers, you know, and
Right.
And then you just got to just keep doing it, and it'll keep growing a little bit. And even like what you said is like, you're not speaking perfectly, and you're still getting criticized for that. But guess what? Your things are growing. You're getting more clients. You're getting more people that want to work with you. It's just a natural progression.
Yeah. Angie had a question for you. She asked, do you time block, and how do you plan out your week?
No, I've never been successful at that. I have everything on my calendar on my phone. And I have a list of everything that I need to accomplish each day. And I don't always get it. Most of the days I don't get it all accomplished, and it just goes over to the next day. So I don't time block. I jokingly tell all of our newer agents, I'm like, this is a great business where you get to set your own schedule. What they didn't tell you is you set it around everybody else's. So I've just never found that I've been that successful at holding myself to doing things during certain blocks. I also don't like being told what to do and being limited, like I said earlier. So I just don't find that it works for me. Not to say that it doesn't for other people. I mean, that's one of the great things about like the EXP iConversations. I love watching those because here's 3 people on a panel and they ask, how do you start your day? And every single person, like when I was interviewed, I was like, I lay in bed and I check all my social media and my emails and text messages first. And the next lady's like, I get up and I pray for 2 hours. That's so not me, you know? But everybody can do things different and still have success. That's what I think is super important. It doesn't have to all be exactly the same way, but it does, like Lee was saying, it really has to be consistent. And part of the consistency for me is kind of Facebook started to dangle a carrot, and it was just like, oh, we're going to start paying people for this content. Well, I was paying $1,000 a month to have my videos recorded because I wanted all of them to look very similar and kind of branded. And I got my first check and it was $500. And I was like, holy smokes. I really thought I was getting scammed when they wanted all my tax information and everything to begin with. But I'm like, I'm going to go with it. And then when I started doing one video and getting $500, I was like, I wonder if I put out 2 videos a day, if I can get $1,000 and cover Troy's expenses videoing these. And that's when it really started taking off. And it's just kind of went from there. I mean, I've had months where I've had 11 million interactions. I mean, it's crazy to me. David and I had this conversation. He says, I need to stop downplaying it. But I'm like, I don't find myself that interesting. You know, it's just, I'm used to me. Julie, that's here on the video, she was making the comment yesterday. She goes, I'm not as dynamic as you. And I don't see myself that way. So I'm just me. And that's what I think is great about the video is people just see the authentic me. And I'm very transparent, and I'm very transparent with my team. I mean, it's like, here's what I've made. Here's what I made off of your sale. Here's what I'm doing in the background, building out this new website and doing this book. And if you're doing these reels, then this is what you can make. I mean, it's a matter of transparency because I want them to understand it's possible. And I want them to understand the work that it took to get the result, instead of them thinking, you know, that I woke up in that tiara and I walk around like that all day. I eat bonbons and I'm fanned or something. I don't know. That's just not how it works.
It's true. I mean, I guess, so the thing that, I mean, with doing the videos and all that stuff, I mean, obviously, you know, that's a huge incentive when you start getting that paycheck. I mean, I get it too, not that much, but it's, you know, you do see, I know Steve said, I don't know if he's still on. Yeah, he is. He said, I don't get any leads from social media. Well, the question would be, how long have you been doing it? How consistent are you? What kind of stuff are you putting out there? Are you just posting static pictures, graphs? Are you doing videos? Are you like, what are you doing that might not, you know, what are you doing to help that? Because I mean, all of my business, a lot of it comes from social media. I get a ton of referral business. I'm closing a deal in a couple of weeks where they messaged me and they said, hey, I found you on social media. I think I saw you on TikTok. I looked at your Instagram. We're going to go with you. Do you want to come over and look at the house? Yes, I do. Sure do. You know, and it's like, there was no competition, no question. And I mean, to be honest, even in my videos, I don't really talk a whole lot. I mean, I talk in my stories, but a lot of the reels, they're just funny reels, but they knew that I would be the person for them. And there was no question about it. And they've been fantastic the whole time. So when you're chasing those leads from like Zillow or, you know, farming and all those things, you're chasing those leads. I love I do that stuff too. Right. But like, I love the people who raise their hand and say, I want to work with you. Like, I like you. I saw your videos. I saw this, I saw that. And so one of my goals for the last 2 years is to be, you know, put get my YouTube channel going. I just signed up under a coach for YouTube. So I'm taking his course right now, and I'm super excited about that. And, you know, that's one of my big goals, and to get more consistent with reels. I did myself a little challenge. This is totally off subject of what we're talking about, but I set a goal for myself.
We're talking about.
I was going to do a reel a day and see how it affected my followers and my engagement on Instagram. And I think I gained like 100 followers within a few days because of just being consistent and posting a reel every single day. Didn't matter the time of day, didn't matter any of those things. It just was posting it per day. So I fell off a little bit, and now I'm like, I want to make another goal to myself to post at least 3 to 4 a week. So then, it keeps that momentum going, and I want to start doing a little bit more educational videos instead of just funny videos. So those are some of my goals. Really, okay. Steve said, I do 1 video a week and post real estate related subjects daily on social media. I've been doing it just over a year. Okay. And then Andrea said, how often do you post videos or reels? So do you want to address Andrea first, and then we can go back to Steve?
Sure. That's the easy one. I go in and I batch record all my videos. I listened to Glenda Baker at a conference, and she was talking about that. And I was like, that's freaking genius. So she goes in and records however many videos she does in one recording. So I go in and I make 60 videos so that I have 2 videos to put out every single day. And the way that I do that is I just make a list randomly through the month. And if a client asks a question, I write it down because somebody else probably has the same question. If one of my teams has a question, I write it down. If it's a situation that I'm experiencing, I write it down. I also have set up Google Alerts so that I've put in realtor, Wichita, real estate, so that I'm getting Google Alerts sent to me about different articles that I can use to make video content with. So that has helped. That has helped tremendously. And I think that could help, with your goal of doing it, because the problem is let's talk about, sitting down and writing something or sitting down and coming up with a plan. Like usually when you start, your brain is cold and you're like, okay, well, how do I want to start this? Or what do I want to do? And the thing about this is usually you're in a grind. And so it's like, oh, your brain's already firing. And so I'm coming up with idea, instead of every day going, okay, what should I make a video about today? And you waste 30 minutes trying to come up with a topic instead of, it only takes me 2 hours to sit and record 60 videos.
Wow.
So my time is way better spent. I mean, they're only a minute long. So if I didn't flub up and I just was going, I mean, I could really do it in about an hour and a half, but I screw up, we go back there and re-record or whatever, or I'm trying to think of how I want to start the video, but at least I have the topic and I just go make the video instead of wasting the time trying to sit and come up with all the ideas every single day. So that was one of the things when Glenda said that, I was like, that's how I can be consistent with this. And that's how I can get the results that I'm trying to get with the goals that I'm trying to accomplish off social media.
Well, so we had Glenda on here once on Modern Agent Blueprint, and she was amazing. And I mean, her story is crazy. I mean, she did not do any of this stuff until COVID. And now she's like, I mean, her whole world has been turned upside down just because she decided to tell funny stories about stuff that she's seen and stuff that's happened in real estate and giving advice and all that. And Lee made a comment. I know none of you guys were on this call, but Lee made a comment on a call that we had previously saying, it's not like, I can't just be a TikTok star. And I wanted to be like, actually, you could. Like, all you got to do is start. I mean, who's to say that you might not take off by telling funny stories or telling your stupid dad jokes, Lee, like any of these things, like you could literally talk about anything. And, I know you were saying make a list throughout the month of topics. I mean, one thing that I teach a lot of people is we are a wealth of knowledge. A lot of people don't know what we know. So like, let's say you're going to, you want to plan out videos, you want to plan out mailers, anything. I mean, you could put things in a newsletter. So like, think about, you're going to write a book, which is perfect for you here, Lesley. You're going to write a book. What are your chapters of your book? So let's say we're going to buy a house. What are our chapters? First chapter is getting pre-approved. All of your, chapter 2 to 6 can be about the pre-approval, what you're going to need, what you need to do, being careful with lending, making sure you have a good lender. I mean, like, we know so many things. I mean, second chapter is, meeting with a realtor. What do you need to look for? Like, think about how you could take that buying a house and break it into 50 chapters. Same thing with selling a house, 50 chapters. Same thing with, you're getting a divorce. What do you need to do now with your house? Like how to make that. And, you can take all these little snippets of information that we know. And I swear to you, it doesn't matter if you're creative or not. If you sit down and you write, I want to buy a house. What are the steps? And then you start breaking down those steps. You can do, she just said her videos are a minute long. Think about how many minutes you could spend talking about buying a house. It doesn't have to be complicated. I think we overcomplicate so many things, and that includes goal setting. That includes so much stuff. And for instance, right now, I have overcomplicated starting a YouTube channel just because I'm like, it's so overwhelming. I need a cool background, and I need this, and I need that, and I need lights, and I need topics, and who's going to edit my video, and it's like, if I just did the video and posted it, it would probably do better than some of the other videos that I've seen in my market. So, we just overcomplicate things too much. That was a tangent.
That was one thing. Like, when I started doing the video, I was actually at a Tom Ferry event, and I was sitting next to my coach, and I'm listening to Glenda, and I wrote it down that was going to be my next goal. And I'm like, I'm going to consistently put something out every single day. And he was like, okay. I instantly had messaged someone that I had met through networking that I knew did videography. And I'm like, hey, how much does this cost? $1,000. I'm like, okay, when can we get together and do this? Like, I just don't hesitate. And I think that's part of the goal setting problem for a lot of people is I'm not saying that you have to break it down and you have to understand what it's going to take to accomplish that goal. But they spend so much time trying to make everything so perfect. And I'm more of a ready, fire, aim instead of a ready, aim, fire. And so it's just like, I'm already in the mix and I'm already adjusting it as I'm going to try to get those goals hit. And it was funny because like, I'm there, I'm at the event. The next thing I know, it's scheduled and I'm going in and I'm like, okay, now I've got to come up with topics, And
you are literally the person that they're talking to, and everyone where they're like, take 3, tangible things from this. And you were like, I did it. Let's go.
Well, and it's funny because I remember that day, I thought my brain was so heavy that I was going to have to drag my head out of there. And I was just like overwhelmed. It was like a buzz. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I don't even need to go to day 2 because I think that's the other problem is people start seeing other shiny objects and they get so distracted from what they had set up that they were going to do that then they didn't get any of that original stuff done. They're like, oh, well, maybe I could get something this way, or maybe I could do this, or it's like, just commit to doing something and get it done and then layer it on from there. And so I didn't go the next day. I was like, I've already taken everything that I felt like I needed to take from that topic. And now I just need to go implement it or be the executioner, as Glenn would call it, and go. Like, that's all I needed to do. And then I'll come back and whenever David isn't listening to me and I've said something to him, I'm like, I just said that to you. He goes, I wasn't ready to receive the information. Whatever. But I really do feel like that some days. It's like I could listen to the same person talk, and I've done this before, and it's the same talk, but maybe it's 6 months in between, and I take something new from that talk, and I'm ready to receive it at that point, but it wasn't impactful to me when I heard it the first time. So that's life. I mean,
or maybe it was overwhelming the first time, and the second time you're like, oh yeah, I remember them talking about that. I could do that now. Or maybe you had taken little baby steps and maybe didn't realize it. I wanted to real quick, we're going to wrap up here in a second, but I wanted to really quick go back to Steve's thing. So what advice would you have for him for trying to get his channel or his socials going a little bit more?
Okay, I would
He's
say
posting
first
one
thing-
video a week.
That's probably not enough. I think that's kind of the key to everything is you have to figure out what that enough point is. But I try not to make everything that I post about on social all about real estate. So you want to keep your friends engaged in what you're doing. I heard a stat that you're supposed to actually make 21 posts a week on Facebook. So what I have done, and that's not even the reels, that's just a post. So what I have done is I broke it up into 3 categories. So if anybody actually, pays attention to my page, you might notice it. But so I start every morning, I post some kind of quote. And then in the middle of the day, I post something that's real estate related, whether that's a picture of a house that I was showing, some kind of funny real estate, something or other. And then I post something personal. So like we've been working on our fence and we've been doing things around our house, or here's what my office looks like, or, it's just something more about me so that people can relate to me. I think the other thing, Steve, is if I've met you, you're on my Facebook page. I don't care how long it's been. I'll give you an example of something really crazy. We met this couple at an open house and I friend requested him. I couldn't find her on Facebook. Next thing I know, it was probably 6 months later, we were building that garage that was on my vision board, and we bought a 63 Cadillac, which was also on my vision board. And so those things were happening. I was a really shitty person at follow up with this. I never thought that they would buy anything. And so he messages me, he goes, I promise I'm not stalking you, but I saw that you built this garage and I saw you bought this Cadillac, and I have a matching hubcap in my barn that you can have to hang on the wall of your new garage if you want it. So I went out, picked it up, friendly again, wound up selling the guy's $930,000 house, which if you saw like my mid slide that our average sales price is $207, that's a big difference. So I sold his $930,000 house. I sold him a $570,000 house. They were downsizing. I've sold their kid a $330,000 house. Like they were at my house 2 nights ago eating dinner, and I leave in 2 weeks to go to Italy with them. So we've become really good friends. But if I wouldn't have friend requested him, I wouldn't have followed up with him. The Facebook and the social media does your follow up for you because they're constantly seeing you if you're consistent enough at posting and being in front of them. But if I've met anybody in person, I friend request them. If I've shown them a house as a Zillow lead, I friend request them. And part of that is social proof. I want them to see that I'm selling real estate. I want them to know that I'm serious about my job. And so I think, Steve, that you need probably a bigger database of people. That was one of the things that we talked about yesterday morning in my sales meeting. There was 4 pages of questions that were memory joggers of who cuts your hair? Are you Facebook friends with them? Who does your cleaning for your dry cleaning? I mean, like all sorts of people. A stat that I heard was your database, 6 to 7% out of your database is going to transact this year. So you just need a bigger database. And I'm constantly adding EXP agents, adding other real estate agents. If people are commenting on my videos and they're a consistent commenter, top fan, they give them that little diamond award or whatever, I friend request them. Like I want to be in their presence at all times. I want to be omnipresent with them. And what's really interesting, and I don't remember if it was on your guys' thing of Glenda or Girls with Grit with Glenda, is she said that she gets 36 deals a year from social media referrals. And like I said earlier, I get 2 a week, and I'm not even Glenda, and I'm in Wichita, freaking Kansas. So I just think you need to do more. You need to be in front of more people and keep working on expanding your database. Still make it personal, but also have some real estate stuff thrown in. That's what I would do to focus on your social media, Steve.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it makes sense. He said, he wanted to know what's your Facebook page. And then he said, all of the agents I know who are doing well are women. And so I sent several names, Zachary Loft, Mark Schaffner, David Calhoun, Isaiah Colton. There's a lot of guys. on real estate, who do real estate and do social media well, definitely check them out. And Kelly, put your information in here too. I have a business page and a personal page. Business page, you can't friend request. How would you handle that? I mean, I would just post to my personal page and say, hey, I'm trying to add, I want to make sure I have everybody joining my business page. Come support me. What would you say, Lesley?
You can also, on your business page, you can go through and you can see, or you can request everybody follow your business page or like your business page or whatever. I mean, there's an automation for that. The other thing we talked about yesterday morning in our sales meeting is if you're posting something on your business page and you're getting likes or hearts or whatever underneath of it, make sure that you're inviting them to follow your page. You can click on those little icons and then make sure that you're inviting those people to follow your page. But I really feel like the business page is more for boosting ads. The personal page is where you're going to get the business. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, it seems backwards, but people, it's really funny. And I'm sure that you get this is, they're almost like, it's like, since we've done so much video and so much social media, when they meet us and they didn't know us before, it's almost like a celebrity status. It's kind of uncomfortable, but they already think that I'm a celebrity and they already think that I know exactly what I'm doing. So those are the people that don't question you. They're just like, they take your advice, they will paint the room, they will change the floor out, they will do whatever you told them to do because they think that you're the one that hung the moon. That's why they called you to begin with, and they didn't know you from Adam to start with. So keep focusing on it, be very consistent. And you know what's fun about that, about the male side of that is if you look at our industry as a whole, males are the #1 earners. And I feel like it's because they're the ones that consistently treat it like a business, because a lot of times as, moms and other things, if you're in a traditional household, old school household, you've got the breadwinner husband and the moms are the ones that had to shuffle the kids to the school events and to all of their after school events and sports and things like that. And so they just don't have the time commitment to sit here and do this as a full-time business. So males are usually the ones. Now, I think a lot of times females are the ones that are more social. And so they're the ones that are maybe winning more at social media for that reason. And I laugh at those norms that I'm sitting here telling you are traditional norms because my household has never been run that way. I've been the breadwinner for a long time. And there's other ways that David does things. At this point, David's retired. But he's constantly busy doing things around our house and building things and handling our Airbnbs and other things like that, that provides a value for our household.
Right.
So I do agree with that, Steve.
Yeah, I would say too. Malia, I think is how you say it. I'm sorry. She said she doesn't add too many to her personal page because she has her 2 daughters that she worries about. I feel the same. I don't add everybody to social media. I think it's like it's a decision you have to make, and it's a decision you just have to deal with the kind of like the repercussions of that. I mean, if you don't add everybody in there, but you want to share all this stuff, it's hard. I mean, I don't share my kids on my I don't share my kids on my Instagram. If I do, it's in a story and it's deleted, within 24 hours, and it's not very often. I feel like I would probably be more relatable. Well, I feel like I'm relatable, but I feel like it could be more relatable if I posted more about my kids, but I've just chosen not to post about my kids for whatever, for that reason. I want their privacy. My daughter's a teenager now, and we all know about creeps out there, and I don't want anyone knowing what school she goes to or, anything like that, because, X, Y, and Z, we know the reasons. So it's just something you have to understand. I do know, I know of somebody else who she's been on our mastermind before. Was she on our mastermind? Yes, I think she did. Kara Newton was on, and she posts everything. Like when you said 21 times a week, I was like, oh my God. But then I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she probably does 10 posts a day. So, and her business is exploding. So, I mean, that's, she also makes everything public. She makes everything available. So when people see her billboard or see her mailers, they come to her page, they see all her stuff, they see she's busy doing real estate, busy doing mom life, she's relatable. So, you know, it's something that you know, I've seen people who post just like the backside of their kids' heads, or they put a little emoji over their kids' faces or something like that, just to show that they're doing something, but not to give up their identity. It is a little bit, you know, it's just a decision you have to make, I think. And Lesley, do you have another comment on that at all for her?
No, I mean, fortunately for me, one, I have a son, two, he's 20 years old. I wasn't even focused on Facebook as a marketing tool that many years ago. You know, I mean, it was just a bunch of print. We didn't have all the pictures and the video back when Austin was young. I could see that being a concern. I mean, yeah, I just think you have to do what you feel comfortable with. Like you were saying, all of my stuff is public. One of the things we talked about yesterday morning was making sure that you go in and you change it to like a digital creator status if you're going to start doing those videos and things and trying to really build a database that way. And you can then change it from that to real estate agent, or I jokingly was telling David that I changed his to fashion model, but you can pick. There were several different real estate options that you can select underneath of that. But those, I think, I've just got 2 agents on our team already that are starting to get monetized off of their videos. And that was one of the things that was important on changing, so that people could actually follow them that weren't friends.
Yeah.
They had to have that status.
Steve, I'm looking at your Instagram right now. And one thing I will tell you is it doesn't say where you do real estate. I don't know what state you are. I don't know what market you're in. So I would go in and change your bio, so then people know where you're at and what you do. I mean, you do have real estate agent with EXP Realty. I mean, this is totally off topic, but I would remove your hashtags out of there, because those words are already searchable. So you don't need to have those hashtags in there. I would put in the market you're in, and either make yourself a business account or a creator account, so you can have contact buttons so people can call you or text you or email you. Just a couple of quick tips by just glancing at that really quickly. Anyway, guys, we've gone over here. I want to say thank you so much, Lesley, for joining us today. This was awesome. I can't wait for your book. When your book comes out, will you come to the Modern Agent Blueprint page and put it all on there so everyone can check it out, and we can buy your book and make you some more money, and you can buy another Airbnb.
Yep, it's been good. I can't complain about that either. So
Awesome.
Yeah, I would be happy to do that. Thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys so much. If anyone has any other questions, feel free, friend request Lesley. If you guys have any other questions or have any other topics you guys want to hear us talk about, just send me a message or send Modern Agent Blueprint a message on Facebook or on Instagram. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day. Go set some goals.
Thanks, guys.